Okay, today we're going to take a look at putting a wheelchair on the vehicle and strapping it down. We're starting from the point where I've already greeted my client and I've lowered the ramp. So I'm going to go ahead and put him on. Whenever you have the option to put a wheelchair on your ramp, you need to put them on backwards. So the large wheels are in the back. That's manufacturer recommendation for the ramps. They want the heavy part close to the back. People that operate their own chair often go on forward. That's okay too. But when you have a choice, put them on backwards. Another thing I want you to always remember, if you don't have complete control of that wheelchair, make sure the brakes are locked. If you let go of it, make sure the brakes are locked. Don't ever let a wheelchair freewheel. Go ahead. Oh, you can actually go. Who cares? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put him on the ramp now. I'm going to release the brakes. And I'm pushing from the back.
Hello.
I push it from the front. If you try to pull them on from the back, you're going to get stuck on the ramp because you can't get around the wheelchair. So push them on from the front. And it's really not too bad.
I turned it off now, so sorry.
All right. I told you to talk on the phone. Okay, so I've got him centered. Are you with me? Okay, I've got him centered on the ramp. What that means is he's not all the way back far enough to touch that back safety gate, because that'll make it stop working. And he's also on far enough, I believe, that when the front gate closes, it won't hit his toes, because that'll also stop the ramp from working. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take him up. Now when I take him up, there's two things I'm going to do. First, I'm going to make sure that my hand's on the wheelchair, because I can feel things much faster than I can see them. If there's something of an issue, I'm going to feel it right away. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell him when I'm going to start taking him up. So some of these jump a little bit, and you want to not scare the crap out of your client by doing that. So, Marty, are you ready to go up?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Now the front gate should close. On some of the older ones, the gate doesn't close automatically, and the ramp will stop a few inches off the ground. Just give that front gate a kick, and it'll close up on you. Okay, I can hold the button all the way down, the ramp stops by itself. Marty, I'm going to go around and bring you right inside. Okay, and release the brakes. And the other advantage of putting somebody on backwards, it's real easy to locate them inside the bus when they come on this way. Okay, so I've got him in position. I've stopped him a little farther back than he's going to end up being. That's so I can work in front of him. Next thing I'm going to do is come out and close the ramp to get that out of the public. We don't want anybody to do a clothesline thing or walk into that. So when I've got him in a good, safe place, in a controlled environment, I can go out and close that ramp. Obvious in really bad weather because you want to keep it outside. When it's really, really hot or really, really cold, you close these doors. But even when the weather's nice, you want to close them as soon as you can. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is on these seats here, these are Q-straints. And each one of these holds 10,000 pounds. And the law requires us to put no more or less than 4 of these per wheelchair. So every wheelchair has to have 4. So sometimes that's a challenge with some of them to find a place to hook it, but you absolutely have to do that. They have a little lock that releases here. So they work. Now this particular one just snaps on buttons. These are very easy to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snap this one on this button back here. Like I said, I've stopped our client short, so I got some room to work. I'm going to move him up in just a minute. Okay, so I'm going to take this one, snap it here. I'm going to take this one and snap it here. Now I want to inject right now that these are fixed. These buttons are where they're supposed to be. A lot of our vehicles have a track here, so you have an option where you put that in the front. You always have it as far apart as you possibly can. You don't want the belts to engage their feet or the devices that their feet rest on. Okay, so always keep them as far apart as you possibly can. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hook this one up. When it's all the way in like that, I can pull it out and it freewheels by itself. If it's not all the way in, like it has a twist, like I can't do it now, but I can release it with the little red lever. Okay, I'm going to bring this out, and where I want to hook this has to be on the main frame of the wheelchair. We don't want to hook it on the foot apparatus or anything that's kind of cheesy, because in the event of a crisis, which we hope to God never happens, all this stuff will break off. The main frame pretty much stays intact, and we want to keep him in place. Okay, so I'm going to put that one there, just by the wheel, but it's hooked on the frame. I'm going to do the same thing on this one over here. I'm also going to open the windows because we got to get some air in here. Not much. Okay, now we got the front done. They're wide and we're hooked to the main frame. Now we're coming to the back. The other thing about the Q-Strains is you want them as high up as you can possibly get them to form a strength, kind of a pyramid. In the front, we can't get very high on that. The only thing high is the brake lever, and it's not very strong. Now back here, we're going to be inside. The object is to try to get them straight. With these buttons, you really can't do that, so we're going to be inside. We want them angled out. We never want the belts to touch these wheels. On the wheelchairs, these wheels are just junk, and we don't ever want to engage them with anything because they'll just break. Okay, so I snap that on. And this, actually I'm going to move him up a little bit first. There we go. How you doing, Marty?
I'm fine.
Good.
You're doing a great job, sir.
It's warm in here, isn't it?
A little hot, yeah. That's right.
Okay, so I'm on this side now. I set it high up as we can. We got our main frame here. So I can come up here above the axle. Now I can't hook to the axle post itself because that would twist right off. But I can hook to the main frame above the axle post, and that's actually a pretty strong point. So that's a good connection there. And we're doing the other side the same. I'm going to come up over here. Now if this wheelchair had spokes, I would be very careful not to allow the hook on the wheelchair to get into the spokes, because there again it would just disintegrate that wheel and then we would have lots of problems. Also, there's an X brace under almost every conventional wheelchair. You never want to hook to that. It's real flimsy in the middle where the bolt goes through and there's holes drilled. It would just collapse. Okay? So now I've got my 4 Q-Strains on. They're all in place. Now I'm going to take the slack out of them. They can't have more than 2 inches of slack. Now you see the little adjusting wheels on the side. We try never to use those because you can adjust them too tight and cause a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the brakes on this and just I'm going to push him forward once and back once. And maybe you'll hear some clicking. When the clicking is all done, that's where it needs to be. Okay, one's back, one's it, there it is. Now, when I check my belts, we've taken all the slack out that we need. There's 2 inches of play. There's a little give for what we need. In case we hit a bump, we're in good shape. So that's the Q-Strain end of it. Now we're going to go into the shoulder belt. So this is a little bit harder to remember. It's actually not hard to do. The problem with shoulder belts is that you may not have one for 4 months after you've learned how to do it, and then somebody's going to get on and say, I want my shoulder belt, and you're going to think, oh, how do I do this? So I always start with the buckle. That's what I try to impress on new people, that if you start with the buckle and get it in the right place, everything else kind of has to go. Okay, so this is the buckle end, and we keep it stored somewhere in the vehicle. And these newer vehicles, it's in that overhead compartment. Some of the older ones, there's a toolbox that has them in. They're somewhere in the bus. You should find them on your pre-trip. Now, each one of these belts has a bracket on it with a flat spot. The flat side goes down, and on the Q-Strain there's a button, and it clips under just like that. Okay? Now for the buckle, we want this buckle to end up about where it does on your car. If you think about where the buckle is on your car, it's way down beside you. It's not in your belly, not on your belt, it's down beside. So we're going to try to end up with that there when we get done. So I'm going to shorten it up now just so I can lay it across the wheel. So we're good right there. Now I'm going to get the lap and shoulder belt, which is a one piece over here. Generally they're hooked up. This is just a little carrier. It doesn't do anything but keep this from whipping around. So you got to kind of take that off of there. It's a good idea to pull the slack out of it. And here again we have the same kind of bracket on the back, and we're going to end up with that hooked to the other Q string. To have these properly done, there needs to be a belt attached to each Q string. Now I'm going to do this from the front. I'm trying not to drip on you, Marty. You're starting to sweat. Okay, one of the things that's important when you're dealing with clients is that you use what I call it an X brace or an X type of handling. We want to always try to keep the back of our hand to our client. This is particularly important for women so that they don't feel threatened. Now I'm going to go down. We need to keep it as close as we can to our clients. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to go down beside the chair here and just drop it down there. Okay. Some of our smaller clients, we can go through this chair. That's not true with all of them. But Marty takes up the whole thing, so we're going to go beside it. Okay. So now I'm down beside, I'm actually under the armrest, but above the side panel on the chair. I'm going to go ahead and clip that down. Like I talk flat space down and try to eliminate the twist. Okay. So that's hooked up. Now the last thing we have to do is bring this shoulder strap around. Here's the buckle for the shoulder strap. Okay. All right. No, just put your arm in the chair. There we go. Okay, so I'm over his arm with this one and I'm going under that. Now we're coming under the arm. I'm coming up to the buckle. Snap. Well, that's actually pretty good. I'm going to shorten that up a little bit. We want to make sure that there's no twists that are contacting the body. There's bound to be a little roll.
That's all right. We'll get it later.
We can get it now. We always take care of our client first.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to shorten this up just a little bit. It's actually not in a bad spot, but I'm going to prefer it to be a little bit shorter. And I do that just by pulling this strap. Okay, give it a little slack. There we go. So that's not contacting him in any way. It's flat across his stomach area. And it looks like it's hitting his shoulder pretty good. Marty, how's that feel?
It's very comfortable. Yeah, very comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how that works, okay? In the event of a rollover or anything serious would happen, God, we hope it never does, Marty would stay right there. He would hang from the ceiling, perfectly safe.
I've done that before.
He's bragging in this situation. So that's how that all works. We're going to practice it lots of times live, but this is a good introduction to the wheelchair. Okay?